we're back for another Tuesday live stream. How are you boys doing?
It's not a happy Tuesday live stream, I would say.
Not a happy Tuesday live stream.
Well, if it was a Saturday, I would agree, but we're a few days removed. We can.
Yeah. I mean,
What do you think, Brum? I haven't gathered your thoughts on it yet.
Can dive right into it. All right,
Why
let's
not?
hear it, bro.
there's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things.
You guys can say, "Hose, you were right."
What were you
I
right
would
about?
accept it. Jeff
For
Levy.
what? No.
We're gonna get to that point of it too, but Jeff, yeah, I don't know. Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
First of all, Oklahoma's defense, in the beginning, obviously they were on their heels a little bit and were a little overwhelmed, and that's fair. They played a fantastic game. They played well enough to win the football game. I mean, you only allow 28 points, and for the longest time, they were at 17 for a very long time. Most of the game, at least over half the game, they were stuck at 17 points. And, it's felt like that this team has been missing this component, but Oklahoma had every opportunity to put Oklahoma State away. It's that killer instinct. You smell blood in the water and just end it. And when they went up 21-17, and I believe Ollie Gordon threw that interception, when OU took over and had the ball up 21-17, I thought at that point, I was like, man, this is where Oklahoma's got to put them away. But in my gut, I was like, dude, they're not going to. For some reason, it's just that gut feeling. I was like, they should and they could, but they won't for whatever reason. They had 3 turnovers. I don't really know. And I understand why people were upset about the Javonte Barnes, putting him in Wildcat and stuff. But you can't necessarily put that on Jeff Levy just because, maybe he could have called something different. But the thing is, he caught the ball, and Javonte got the ball after he bobbled it. He didn't have to shove it into Dylan Gabriel's hands so he can get blown up. I don't know why you just don't.
He should have fell on it. It's over. It's done. Yeah.
He had the ball. He didn't need to hand it off. it's a dead play. Just live for another down. So that one is just like, can't put that one on Levy. Dylan Gabriel's deep pass, where I don't know what he was looking at there. That was just, that's just bad. And there was another turnover. I can't remember.
The fumbled snap from Raim. The bad snap from Raim.
Oh, you're right. Yes. Yeah. The fumbled snap. Yep. You're right. And
Which
so
the defense did a great job there, too, because that was late into the game. There was probably 8 minutes left in the game or whatever, and, they had just taken a 3-point lead.
Yeah.
And then to get that turnover at R20 and the defense quick 3 and out, held in the 3, you're still alive.
Yeah. And so those 3 turnovers, at the end of the day, I don't care if you're in college, NFL, or high school football, the biggest decision or deciding factor in any game is the turnover margin. That's literally how you win and lose football games. Everything else is kind of not really as important, and it's been proven. And in back-to-back games, OU has turned the ball over 3 times, and they've gotten 1 turnover in both the games. They were able to create 1 turnover. So you're -4 between the 2 games. It's hard to win games. They had every opportunity to win this game, put it away. They just couldn't. And obviously the call of Drake Stoops not, getting tackled before the ball's there and the refs just blankly staring at him is hard for me to wrap my mind around, obviously. But I wouldn't say that's why OU lost the game. Granted, if they would have gotten that call, it would have probably greatly changed the outlook. Zach Schmidt, I can't believe he made 1 field goal. I was like, that was like a Christmas miracle for me. I just, it's part of the growing pains, to be honest with you. We went into the season, and I think I think we did like our season predictions and stuff, and I did circle this game as like this is one that OU, because I picked them to lose. It was either 9-3 or 10-2. I can't remember what I said, but I remember pointing that the BYU, Texas, and the Oklahoma State game. Actually, yeah. So I think I said 9-3. Those are the three I pointed out. Obviously, they beat Texas, lost to Kansas, and they lost to Oklahoma State. If you would have told me we were 7-2 right now, sitting in January, this year, you would have told me we'd be 7-2 in November. Like, okay, that's probably fair. But the way that Oklahoma's gone about losing, it's more about Oklahoma losing the game than the other team winning the game, which is what leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Before you go, Brandon, real quick, remember everyone, like the stream, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to all of you that are joining us here and chatting in the live stream here. Make sure to also leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about the game. All right, Brandon, back to you.
Yeah, you're 7-2, which I agree. I don't think any of us would have really bitched about going into the season, but you're 7-2 and so easily could be 9-0 right now, and that is the part that is so frustrating. And I agree and disagree with you on the Javonte Barnes types play. My only issue with that play was that drive started deep within our own territory. Oklahoma State had just downed us, I think, at the 3 or 4 yard line on a nice punt. And they were moving the ball, doing whatever they want. On 3rd and 13, they converted to Jalil Farouk, and then another 3rd and long. I think it was Nick Anderson wide open, big play that set up that eventual Javonte Barnes. So my issue is you're moving the ball with ease without doing anything fancy. You're just calling regular plays. I don't understand why you decide to go so fancy and so cute there when the drive is moving the way it is doing. It seems unnecessary. But then again, if they call the play and it works out how it's supposed to be executed, because again, it's not Jeff Levy's fault that Javonte Barnes had a brain fart and whatever happened there happened. Let's say they get the play out perfect and they hit a touchdown, then Jeff Levy's a genius. So that's tough. It is what it is. The two most critical drives of the game were the one where I feel like after DG downed them at the 1 yard line, we were up by 4, 21-17. It's 3rd and 7 or whatever. You're about to get the ball back in great field position. Their receiver runs over Makari Vickers, and for some reason, that's a defensive pass interference on Makari Vickers. And then Brent Venables asked for an explanation, and they flag him 15 more yards for that. It is what it is. And then, I do agree with you that the call, the non-call on Drake Stoops is not the difference in the game. But, I mean, we were down 27-21. That's just after the defense had forced the field goal to make it to keep it at a 6-point game. You're moving the ball perfect. You should have got that call, and that would have put the ball at the 2 yard line. You think Oklahoma punches it in 28-27, and then who knows? Who knows? The call didn't lose us the game. I mean, it wasn't the reason we lost, but the referees made damn sure that we weren't going to get any help there. Because I mean, if you do call that, I think it's a different game, but it is what it is. Because you're right. I think it was 6 straight possessions for Oklahoma State where the defense stopped them, whether it be a turnover. I mean, shout out them on 2 4th and shorts that to be able to stuff Ollie Gordon, who I think is the best running back in the country, to blow him up on 2 4th and short plays. That's fantastic. And then the Billy Bowman pick, that's another big moment because, at that point you feel like all the momentum in the game has shifted to us. Billy just gave you the ball at pretty much the 50 yard line. And I think it was 3 straight run calls. And that, I understand the run game was working and it was fine. And I'm even okay with running on 3rd and 5 there. If you anticipate going for it on 4th down, try to make it a little more manageable. Maybe that was the plan, but I think Tawi got no yards on that carry. Oklahoma State was pretty ready for it, and then the 4th down play call that ultimately ended the game for us. How do you not send somebody beyond the sticks on 4th down? I don't understand that for the life of me.
For sure. I mean, you got to be aware. Oh, Jose, sorry, you're muted.
My bad. Muted myself. Shout out Jacob for the super chat. So he's got 2 things. Kip over Kanik. I don't know who's out there we could hire if we do move on from Jeff Levy. That's as good or better. We didn't get to the first one there. I think Kip played a really good game. I mean, he came in for Danny, obviously injured. I think there's definitely, after this last game as a starter, he definitely made a good argument to start getting playing time alongside Danny and I think and Jaron. Um, Definitely probably taking more time away from Kanik than Danny once Danny's fully healthy. But this gives Venables and Roof, probably the entire defensive staff, a little bit more like they can breathe a little bit. They're what should have been a Butkus Award semifinalist in Danny Stutzman. If he can come in and play 50% of the snaps, then you have someone else that can come in and Kip Lewis and back him up. And then you still have a good rotation of linebackers rather than having to rely solely on two guys and Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie, who, yeah, Kip played well, but you don't want to, when you have guys that are experienced, you don't want to rely on the inexperience because, as we saw last year with Venables, like, he clearly rather have guys that have a little bit more playing experience under their belts because they should know situationally how to play something. They're still going to make mistakes, but those mistakes aren't going to be as costly or in the moments like a younger guy could be. But then the other thing about Jeff Lebby, if he is to move on or Brent Venables gets rid of him, and that can be a topic, a next topic here, but I'm a big proponent of the Washington State offensive coordinator. I don't know what's going to happen to that football program, but I would assume that there's going to be a lot of transfers out of that school and a ton of movement in their coaching staff. If Oklahoma or Jeff Lebby does move on, if it's a mutual or if he finds another job or he gets canned from OU, I think his name's Ben Arbuckle. The Washington State offense is really good. He has it's basically a similar offense. Quarterback is going to be a big part of it. And I think the biggest fear, I know that Brandon's got it when we've talked about it, but it's probably not just him. What happens is Jackson Arnold. I firmly believe that with this coaching staff, how they recruit, and Jackson Arnold himself, he wouldn't leave just because Jeff Lebby left, especially since he wasn't a lean towards Ole Miss pre-committing to Oklahoma. I mean, we had him on the show right after a little bit after he committed to OU. I think if I remember correctly, he mentioned Notre Dame was probably towards the top there for him before Oklahoma came into the picture after Lincoln Riley left. And they definitely don't run an offense like Lebby does. If anything, Tommy Reese runs a very boring run first, and then take shots off play action kind of offense.
No, there's a lot of opinions and thoughts on Jeff Lebby throughout, and rightfully so. I think Jeff Lebby cost us the Kansas game, and I've said that on the last live stream. I think he was way too conservative throughout the game, and then especially with the game on the line, to take over the ball in plus territory and to run 3 straight dive plays and then get nothing and punt the ball back to Kansas. The rest is history there. I don't think he was perfect in this Oklahoma State game, as we just talked about, where the defense gets 6 straight stops and you're up 4 for most of those. Any score there puts the game out of reach. Now here's where I'm going to come to a little bit of his defense. Before right at the tail end of the first half, Dylan Gabriel put a perfect pass right on Nick Anderson's chest on a deep ball that would have put the ball. I think we would have been inside the Oklahoma State 20 if Nico caught that and it hit him right in the chest, dropped it. That likely cost you points. Where I disagree with the play call on the Wildcat to Javonte Barnes. It's not Jeff Levy's fault. Javonte Barnes had a malfunction out there and ultimately turned the ball over because Jeff Levy didn't drop the ball. That was Javonte Barnes there, and then the pass interference call that you should have got. That's 3 scoring drives that would have put the game out of reach, and that's not on Jeff Levy. Those 3, those three instances. I guess you can put a little bit on Jeff Levy because I disagree with the play call on the Wildcat shit there, but he didn't drop the ball.
I would think if he did move on, I think Seth Luttrell would be the natural next offensive coordinator for Oklahoma. I don't think Jeff Lebby should. I don't think OU should let him go. I know it's a hot take, and people are very opinionated, and some people are already ready to sell him down the river. It's hard to overhaul a roster in your second season It's hard to install an offense. It's hard to also he's learning a little bit on the fly, not having having a Lane Kiffin there to kind of guide him. He's running his own whole side of the ball. Um, does he mess up? Of course. I mean, it's hard to be perfect. But I tell you what, if some of these plays were perfectly executed, we wouldn't be talking about this. We'd be talking about, man, remember when Levy did this? And I just think that you have to give more patience. And also, I mean, I want to. You got to see what he's got with Jackson Arnold. I mean, that's his guy. I mean, Dylan Gabriel is his guy. Don't get me wrong, but Jackson Arnold's ceiling is a lot higher than Dylan Gabriel. And Dylan Gabriel is a good quarterback, but Jackson Arnold's ceiling is like a first-round quarterback type player. And I think there's something to be said for that. And granted, Gabriel did have that pass drop. But there are plays that OU's limited on. I mean, Gabriel struggles with the down the field passing. I mean, I know he hit Nick Anderson perfectly, and then Anderson dropped it. But I mean that's a big part of his system. And then also the offensive line has not been good this year, so that doesn't do them any favors either.
There was a couple drop balls, not just the one that Nick dropped there on the sideline. That was, I think, the most blatant one, because that one, I mean, he couldn't have walked it to him better than that. And that one, it hurts. You instead of scoring points and a half, you end up punting and nothing happens. That one sucked. But on the third down play, prior to the fourth down stop that ultimately lost the game, it would have been a tough catch. But again, the ball was in Anderson's hands, like in both hands there. And again, it was. The coverage was tight, and the guy was all over him. He got tackled right after, but I mean, the ball hit him in both hands, and Dylan put it there. And if he catches that, who knows? Again, too, there's so many what ifs, and who knows? But it's football, I guess.
I mean, if we would have done this live on Saturday or even Sunday, I would have said Jeff Lebby is fully at fault for what happened. Obviously, it's Tuesday now. I've gotten time to think about it. I rewatched the game a little bit, and I think both can be true for the Oklahoma State game. The execution wasn't there, because I agree. It's not Jeff Lebby's fault that Javonte, made that huge mistake. But again, back to what I was saying a couple weeks back, and Brandon just said it. You're moving the ball well. Why try to do something when your offense is already in rhythm? Oklahoma State hadn't faked an injury yet to try to throw you off. Keep moving. Don't do anything don't be your own worst enemy, which seems to be Lebby's big Achilles heel, because the numbers are there. No one's arguing that he can't put points up on the board. It's his decision making either in critical times or when that rhythm is off. And it's more so happened since the Texas game, happened in the UCF game, and it's happened versus Kansas and Oklahoma State. When first down doesn't work out well for him, or if there's ever a false start, if there's a situation where Oklahoma kind of puts themselves behind the chains, he can't recover from it. If that first down doesn't work out, you could basically bank on a 3-and-out with this offense right now. And it's both the execution and play calling. And yeah, the execution's on the players, but you got to look at, I think that you also have to assume that the preparation there by both the players and the coaches, for whatever reason, may not be there during the week. Because if it happens one week, you assume, let's work a little harder, let's get it the next week. Penalties, all that stuff, obviously not good to keep that, but got to be able to overcome those things. No one's going to be perfect and never have a false start, never have a holding called on them, especially with these referees as of late. It seemed like they had gotten over Oklahoma and Texas leaving at the beginning of the year. Kind of popped up again this week. Even in the Texas game, there was some blatant stuff that should have been called in Texas's favor, and Kansas State got away with it. The other stuff, it's really, the fourth down play is really just, I get it. Drake Stoops should have been more aware of where he was on the field. Get past the first down, then try to work your way back to the ball. And then, try to turn your legs and try to get that first down and keep the ball moving. But like you said, Brandon, that's the only play you think you can execute on fourth down, because that's the exact same play they ran in the Texas game, in the drive before the game-winning drive, where they didn't convert on fourth down. Like, there's got to be something else in your playbook that says, all right, a fourth down play, fourth and medium, fourth and short, we can go to these 5 plays, depending on what the defense gives us. Doesn't seem like that's the case with Levy. It's the critical times, and then the biggest thing is personnel. Like, under Lincoln Riley, we never really saw this much mixture with offensive linemen, and this game was an exception. For the most part, it was one group on the field, and they played better than they have recently. And then the running back group, like Gavin Sawchuk played well in the first half and didn't get much play time in the second. And I get the situations were different. You kind of got to get the ball up there in the air to try to move the ball downfield. But he was doing well. Ended up with 13 carries and got most of them in the first half. Like, it's very hit or miss. And when there's a miss, it seems like it's just going to put Oklahoma way back, because the defense did its job shitty at the beginning. They played well enough. All the offense had to do was, from those 3 turnovers, or 3 times they stopped Oklahoma State from scoring. 6 times they stopped Oklahoma State from scoring. Scored 3 times. And the refs, being the refs, is irrelevant in what happened at the end.
If you get 1 touchdown in any of those 6 drives, that's 28. Or 28, 31, whatever, depending on, because he got the field goal, but tough.
It's just, unfortunately, I think it's a part of the growth process, and growing as a team. And at the end of the day, we have a first-time head coach, first-time offensive coordinator at a big-time program, like without anyone kind of watching over his shoulder. There's a lot of first, and I think that's part of it. I think also the players feel the pressure too, and sometimes I feel like they're maybe overthinking it, and they're playing a little nervous, maybe 7-0 and things like that. And now all the pressure is off of OU now. I feel like, anyway. I mean, you got nothing to lose at this point. You're not in the playoff race. You're just trying to win these last couple games, or 3 games, and then that's it. And I hope OU can go 3-0 through here, but I don't know if they will.
I think if this team goes 3-0 and finishes 10-2, they will be playing in the Big 12 championship game. I think that's how it's going to work out. I think if they go 3-0, there's still a lot to play for here. Obviously, you need some help, but I think I think it happens. Texas could very easily be in the same situation we are right now. They have narrowly escaped a Houston team who absolutely sucks. If Kansas State, Kansas State, I mean, I'm okay with the idea to go for it on fourth down, go for the win. I wouldn't have done it being that close. Although their kicker did miss a 28-yarder in that game, so maybe that went through their thought process into that play call. I think the play they designed was awful. Even if everything was perfect, all the receivers were blanketed. There was nothing happening there. But it's just Texas, especially playing with Malik Murphy, who seems to be a turnover machine. I think Texas Christian or Iowa State can give it to them. I think they can lose one of those games. I think Kansas State beats Kansas. And if those 2 things happen, and Oklahoma does what they should do, what I want them to do, what we all want them to do, and I do think if they go 10-2 that they will be playing in a Big 12 championship, which would be the best thing ever. Because keep those receipts.
You need a lot of help to get there. A lot of help is needed for Oklahoma to get there, but I don't think it's crazy. I mean, the last 3 remaining games, at West Virginia at home, at BYU, and then TCU at home. TCU hasn't been great this season. BYU hasn't been very good. And the biggest concern there is that it's on the road. This weekend if they can win this weekend, then 3-0 for this to end the season is a real possibility. But this weekend's going to be a tough game.
And being 10-0 10-2 at the end of the year, it's a solid year. I just think that Oklahoma will win at least 2 of their next 3. I hope they go 3-0. I feel like being back at home is going to be good for them here. Hopefully they get a little more comfort. I don't know if Stut's going to play. I think that's a big factor as well. Unfortunately, in the Oklahoma State game, Gentry Williams wasn't able to stay healthy. It's just unfortunate for him. It just seems like he just can't catch a break when it comes to field goals injuries. Excuse me. I don't know. Field goals still in my head with Zach Smith. Still thinking about that.
Yeah, it's. Look, I think this team very easily just got in its own way. Like it's the program is headed in the right direction. If Webby's here next season or not, that's obviously no one here on this live stream or in the chat's decision. If he does fix it, if those situational mistakes weren't there, Oklahoma's easily still in the playoff picture, undefeated, and we're talking about everything in a different light. He's got to fix those because next year, like you said, Brum, he's got a guy has the talent and abilities to be a first-round quarterback come his time to be in the NFL. But if he's got the talent, he can't be making these lapse of judgment when it comes to critical downs at critical points in the game, even when it's not a critical point in the game. Those 6 things that happened, or those 6 stops by the defense happened in the middle of the game. They didn't dominate that middle 8 that Brent Venables always talks about. Or the defense did, but the offense sure as hell didn't. If that turns around next year, then I think people are going to get off Lovey's back. He'll probably get a Power 5 head coaching job somewhere, and then it's time to promote someone to be the new OC, and it's like the season never happened.
Then we all forget about it, right?
Exactly. That's how it works. It's just like recruiting. Everyone talks about all the guys you missed, but then come July, you're just pumped, especially as OU fans. It's July 1,000 or something today.
It is July a lot. If this team does finish 10-2, are we going to be? We're going to be happy about it. But how much are we going to think? Man, what if we just did this or that and be at least 11? I don't know. There's this season.
But part of me wonders: is this truly a team that would go compete with a Georgia or Michigan or Ohio State in the playoffs and have their best players are freshmen and sophomore for the most part.
I think the defense could. The offense has been OU's, and again, it goes back to the decision making when it's important. That wasn't a thing. Even if it happens occasionally, no one's asking for perfection. But if it happens, consistently every week, then it's a problem.
I agree with BL here. That's what I literally texted the guys in our group chat last night. I was driving and I just started thinking about it, and I think Iowa State's a real possibility for them to catch that loss because I agree with what you said earlier too. Going into Ames and in a night game with Iowa State's going to try to ruin your season. That's what they're playing for right there. It's going to be a tough environment there. I think Texas can lose that game, but I actually think it happens sooner. I think TCU beats them in Fort Worth this weekend. And I know TCU's not very good, but I don't think Texas is the same team playing with Malik Murphy right now, and he's going to be there for at least a couple more weeks. So I do think that I agree with this comment, which is going to be the best thing ever. Dude, there would be nothing better to finish the season with another shot at those idiots from Stillwater. That would make my whole life.
Could you imagine that?
I would fucking lose my mind.
I hope so.
I quote tweeted somebody on Twitter who I can't remember who it was or whatever, but she tweeted, and it's a fact. It's every Oklahoma State person I've ever met in my life. I was at drill this weekend, so Sunday coming back from drill, people who I haven't talked football with, hardly ever, or here and there, just bits and pieces. As soon as I got to drill Sunday, how about them? And I'm just like, dude, you don't. I wanted to like lose my mind. But she tweeted. She pretty much her tweet was like, I've been alive for 29 years or whatever, and I've never once texted or called my Oklahoma State friends immediately after a game to like rub it in or like talk shit or whatever. But when you're on the flip side of that, those Oklahoma State people come at you so fucking quick. Like it's the second the game ends, they're all over your shit, and it drives me insane. And my only explanation for it is because they don't expect to win this game. Like they truly, they do not expect to win this game. And when it happens, they don't know how to behave, and it's mind-boggling. My youngest brother was at the game with his buddy, so 18 and 19 years old. They were walking out of the stadium. Obviously, they're wearing their Sooner stuff, and he told me that a couple dudes walked up to him, like grabbed their sweatshirt or whatever, like to get their attention, and be like, "How about that? Talking shit at the game." And he said they're at least 40 years old, which it's that fan base. I can't stand them. And then you saw the video of, and I quoted him and I tweeted about it because this shit it pisses me off almost more than losing the game is the way that you see people who are fucking 40 years old, 50 years old running around the field like jackasses with. I hate them.
I think that all stems back, that mentality of the fan base and the players is all back to Coach Gundy. He's funny to watch when you don't really care and that there's nothing on the line. Like his press conferences, I think, are funny because he's kind of like Lane Kiffin where he doesn't really hold back. But that dude is so fucking annoying. I don't know if you guys saw, but after the game, he goes to shake Venable's hand, and he just he goes by Trace Ford and doesn't even acknowledge him. I get the dude left your program, but he was also there for 4 years, produced at a pretty high level for you. At least say good game, dap up the kid, and then go to your locker room and meet up with your players. Didn't even acknowledge him. I think that's BS from a grown man that is leading a football team. Especially when the rest of your team that was there with him, like Colin Oliver was on the video, like talking to Ford for a little bit. Some of the other OSU players that were there on campus with him, like clearly the players don't really care. Like, yeah, it probably sucked that they saw him on the other side of that Bedlam game. They're still friends. Why can't you just be a grown man? He's 40, he's a man. Act like one and just dap up your former player.
No, and the craziest part is like I've got some young people at my unit that I drove with and stuff, freshmen at Oklahoma State and stuff. Then you see how happy they were taking on the goalpost and celebrating and shit. And I was like, yeah, it's because you guys didn't expect to win. It's like, what the fuck do you mean? You tell me Oklahoma has never stormed the field after an Oklahoma State game or ripped the goalpost down to celebrate? And I was like, in my years of watching that game, no, I don't remember one instance in which an Oklahoma fan base stormed Owen Field after beating Okie Light to act like they won the national championship. But I think the only time that rushing a field is acceptable, in my opinion, is if you win the whole thing. If Oklahoma wins the whole thing and I'm there, I'm rushing the field. I don't care. I just went on a roast about all these people doing that shit. But in any regular season win setting, I will not be partaking in a rushing of the field.
I will if we make to the playoffs next year and we're at home and win the first playoff game in Norman. I'll be out there on Owen Field.
Well, I'll be there with you. So if you do it, I have to do it too. And I don't think we should. I disagree with that.
It's a playoff game. There. That'd be the first playoff game win for OU. Sadly, but it would be.
See, I would think OU fans should never rush the field under any circumstance.
See, I like that one more. But I think, I don't know, if you win a national title game, I don't think I can contain myself. And I think I'll look like an idiot. I'll look like everything I just preached against. But it's in a different situation. It's not a regular season game. Yeah.
I agree with that part. You can't storm the field. I mean, Kansas, Oklahoma State holds himself in higher regard than Kansas. And they did the exact same thing Kansas did after beating us. Not that much better, obviously. Yeah. Game happened. You got to move on to the next week. Go 1-0 this weekend, hopefully, and improve to 8-2. At the end of
You
the
just-
day, like 10-2 isn't a bad record. I think
You
wasn't.
just need a couple teams to lose.
That's
When
the thing.
was,
That's weird. Like the season's not over, and you know it feels like it is because you know you were just after that Texas game. You know we're riding the highest high, and we think we're going to win the whole thing. You know we got snapped back to reality a little bit, but the season is not over. And I just said it here. BL commented it. That I legitimately think if this team wins that, they will be playing in a Big 12 championship game, and that'll be probably. If that happens the way I think it does, if we win out and we get Oklahoma State again in a Big 12 title game, and we win that game, I'm gonna just throw every other win I've seen out the window for OU, and that will be my favorite OU win ever. Because that will just be because just how they did, and they put that shit on the scoreboard about how they're the best in Oklahoma, or just I cannot stand that institution.
Wasn't Bob's last year 9-3? Did I remember that correctly? No, it wasn't a fantastic season, but 10-2, 9-3, especially after last year. Last year was unacceptable. I think you just got to look at it and be like, all right, we're getting better. We'll see what we are in the SEC. And I think this team can be competitive in the SEC. They just got to get out of their own way now. That being said, make sure you're liking the stream. I don't know what we're at, but probably not enough. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's try to get to, what was it, 6,100? Yeah, I think that's our next milestone, 6,100. Help us out, share the stream, like, comment, subscribe, do all that jazz. Click the links in the description for social media. Buy a t-shirt. Help us out. What's next?
I think we're only 94 subscribers away. So
yeah, we're close. With a possum pause question here. I think if you go 10-2 and we don't get the help we need, so we're not Big 12, we're not in the Big 12 title game, then I think maybe USC. But I think but I think if you go 10-2 and you get the help that I think we will get, and you play in a Big 12 title game, I think if we get to the Big 12 title game, we're definitely going to avenge that loss. And in which case we would be playing in a New Year's Six bowl and not with USC.
USC is horrible. We want to talk about that for a second? They finally fired Grinch.
They did. It was a little long overdue.
I hated to see it.
I don't even think that's the problem for them. It's the strength and conditioning. Like, we even saw it with OU last year. We have a better defensive coordinator now and better defensive staff. That team couldn't stop anything. And now that they're finally in shape, can actually hit hard and compete physically, like, they're holding up for all 4 quarters. Like, Grinch, it might be an unpopular opinion, especially for OU fans, but Grinch's defenses can create turnovers. They just can't do shit physically. They just had someone that wasn't doing yoga with them 7 times a week. They'd probably be a little bit more competitive.
The Washington running back ran for like 300 yards by himself on Saturday.
That's what I'm saying. Like, those big men can't do anything. They can't clog holes. Those linebackers aren't physical enough to help them in the run game. I don't even know, and I might be wrong, but when Grinch first got there, that Oklahoma defense was starting to look better. And as the time went on, it got worse, and it kind of got to a peak end of his second season with Oklahoma, right? Where we're like, okay, it's headed in the right direction, starting to get to the quarterback, creating a lot of turnovers, and then, strength and conditioning kind of took a toll. They couldn't hold up, not physical enough, and that's when they went back to the shitty defense that we saw at the end of Mike Soup's era. It's the same thing that's happened. Literally, he took the exact same thing he had at Oklahoma and just made it worse with younger people that won't be able to hold up against bigger bodies.
I want to see, this is my dream scenario. I was texting Bud about it, but if we can get some university somewhere in this planet to hire Alex Grinch as their defensive coordinator and pair him with Brian Ferentz as the offensive coordinator, that is my dream pairing, and I want to see it somewhere. How bad would that team be? They would score about 6 points a game and give up 70.
Dude, that's another coach. Yeah, Brian Ferentz, a long overdue resignation, I guess. I think that one was a forced one. think we can all probably read between the lines there. And they somehow got worse. You would think it would be partially his fault that they sucked. I thought, oh, you know what? This new offensive coordinator, the boys will be a little bit more motivated. Let's hit the ground running. No, 10 points.
The Hawkeyes need to read The Forward Pass for Dummies. They need to buy that book if it exists somewhere because they have not figured out the forward pass.
That defense is really good, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that being said, with Iowa, they have a chance still to win the Big Ten Conference because they're going to probably win the Big Ten West. They're going to play probably Michigan in the Big Ten title game. They're probably going to lose by 100. But what if?
Exactly.
Sorry, I was having technical difficulties. What are you talking about, Michigan?
Well, it started off, we were talking about the Grinch firing for a second, and I made a scenario up. Imagine if a university somewhere, it doesn't matter who, but they hire Alex Grinch as their defensive coordinator and pair him with Brian Ferentz as the offensive coordinator. That is a team that is going to lose 45-6 every week, and that would be the funniest thing ever to watch. You would not be able to pass the ball forward on offense, and on defense, you would just come on through.
Speed D, baby.
Yes.
I think it'd be a good deal for Oklahoma State. What host?
Michigan. That situation gets crazy and crazier every passing day. I'm sure you probably hate Michigan more than you did a week ago, since you're a closet Ohio State fan, bro.
Yeah, your Bucks didn't look great. They kind of struggled this weekend too with the good old Rutgers.
They did, but Rutgers is 6-2. Oh, 6-3 now. I guess they are.
Shiano still their coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Did I see? I haven't sat down to read it yet, but I think I saw the headlines. Did Michigan release a document today stating that Purdue and Ohio State and maybe Wisconsin, someone else, they were colluding and giving Michigan signs back and forth?
Yep. Yeah, that is what Michigan is claiming.
That's what they're doing right now.
But I don't know. Is that against the rules? Too. Is it against the rules to help each other out for united front against one mutual enemy?
Probably.
I mean, if it is, maybe we just eliminate the Big Ten from the playoffs for a couple of years, and let everyone else compete since they weren't cheating, or at least got caught for it.
Michigan absolutely should not be able to compete in a college football playoff. I think it's ridiculous that the NCAA is going to do nothing about this situation because the reality is, if Kansas State were to get hit with the same exact situation right now, what are they, 6-2, 6-3, whatever the hell Kansas State is? If the 6-3 Kansas State Wildcats had the same allegations, the same blah 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 blah, and they weren't, they're not Michigan, they're not that brand, they would fucking punish Kansas State. They would hit them with the postseason ban. They would hit them with a loss of scholarships. They would do this, that, and the other. But Michigan's not going to get anything.
Yeah, that whole deal is insane, and it's pretty obvious. I mean, I feel like the evidence is pretty darn clear that Michigan is breaking the rules, and I think Michigan's MO is just if I'm going down, you guys are going down with us. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to kick and scream as they go down, and they're going to bring. I mean, the fact that I don't know if it's real, but they think Ohio State initiated the investigation.
A report came out today that is not factual. No. Nothing can actually link Ohio State to the private investigator.
It's just insane. Harbaugh, I mean, not only that, then he's got the issue, and it is ridiculous, and I get it, but there's a recruiting violation with the buying the burgers and stuff, and then also he's got something with an offensive coordinator. Yeah, cheeseburgers. I can't remember. It's some sort of legal issue that
online crimes or some shit. There's some shit like
yeah. So they're in trouble.
Back to the OU offense just for a bit, because I forgot to ask this or forgot to bring this point up, but I talked about it with Hose for a little bit and our friend Brody. Do you guys think we underestimated the impact that Andrew Anthony had on this team? I you know what I mean? I feel like because I know Andrew went down in the Texas game, but I think that Texas game, I think Jeff Levy called a perfect game. It was fantastic. And, since the loss of Andrell, they threw the ball 10 times against Kansas until the last drive. And again, the weather wasn't great, but they didn't do anything. I think we underestimated how big Andrew Anthony was for this team and this offense.
I would agree. He was truly. I mean, he's very important. I think that is a big impact that OU is feeling and they're dealing with right now. I do think that maybe if Andrew's there, maybe both the games are different.
I have the same thought. I think Jeff Levy has a lot more faith in the passing game when Andrell's out there, and I know he went out. What is it? Third quarter of the Texas game, and they still played played pretty aggressive. But the game plan was already put into play there. I don't know that the game plan is as aggressive minus Andrew Anthony. I don't know if it's a trust issue, whatever it is with the other receivers out there. But you definitely want to have Andrell, I think.
Brandon, do you see this?
Want to answer that question, Brandon?
I'm in the National Guard, Army National Guard.
Not the Space Force?
Not the Space Force.
Well, that could be a front for the Space Force.
Maybe it is.
I guess we'll never know. I agree about the Andrell stuff. I just don't understand why. I mean, again, just looking at it as a fan, why they can't just put Brennan Thompson in there. Also a speedster. Like, does he not trust Dylan's deep ball enough? Like, you can't get him unless that's your first read and he's wide open. But I don't know. Andrell's definitely not having Andrell is clearly impacting this offense.
100%. And I think I kind of agree that Brennan Thompson should be playing more. You never, but he did drop a ball on fourth down. That was right in his hands. And it would have been negated because they called Nick Anderson for an offensive pass interference, but the ball went right through his hands. On a not very far pass. It was about 5 yards. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. We're not there to see all the practices and all the stuff. I thought Jalil Farouk made a hell of a play on a ball he got interfered on and still caught it. I also thought it was funny that the flag didn't come out until I think the ball was pretty much secured. They're like, oh, now we can throw a pass interference since he caught it anyway.
I think also Oklahoma, there's a reason why Oklahoma's taking so many wide receivers in this class. There's a chance, there's going to be some guys graduating, but like an LV Bunkley Shelton just really hasn't panned out. There's just been some other guys that haven't panned out or are going to graduate. I think you're going to see Oklahoma also go after probably another transfer portal wide receiver or two.
What's the kid that just entered the portal? Can't remember his name.
From Boise State.
Yeah, that kid.
Boise. Because when I went to Boise that one time last year, if you call it Boise in Boise, they get for some reason like weirdly mad about it. Like it's the weirdest thing. But yeah, you can't call it Boise State if you're there. They don't take. I think I was like, well, I think Boise sounds better, and they don't like that at all. They hate that even more. But Boise does sound better than Boise.
I agree. Yeah, I forget his name. It's their leading receiver.
That would be nice to have. I mean, you're for sure losing Drake Stoops,
Eric McAllister.
Boise bad.
He's a smaller guy, right? He's not like a towering wide receiver.
I think he's like he's 6'4".
Oh shit, he's huge.
Uh-huh.
Was it Walker which game are you talking about, Radical? The only time I can think of when Tawi dropped the ball that would have been a walk-in was that Texas game right before the half there.
Yeah, that was kind of a bad ball.
It wasn't a great pass, but it's a ball that 100% should have been caught.
For sure.
And he would have walked in.
we didn't mention him. For a guy that looked like he was running at 50% speed, he was making some good plays.
He was, despite being
yeah.
like 60% healthy.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he needs to, if he doesn't make it in the NFL, come back, be a offensive analyst or quality control guy for DeMarco. Because that dude, he needs to teach every running back how to keep their balance. Because I think it's so fun to watch every time someone hits him when it looks like he's going down. He's quick enough to put his free hand down to keep himself up and get that extra 2 or 3 yards and thrust himself forward. It's not something you see in every running back. Probably most, even like NFL running backs don't really do that. They try to fall forward kind of like Drake Stoops does, where it looks kind of funky.
I think the running backs have to be Sawchuk and Talia going forward. I think we can all agree on that. I think that tandem has looked pretty solid.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? So I was watching the Oklahoma breakdown, and Lehman brought up a good point. I think it was Lehman or Reichard.
We'll have to be one of those two.
Yeah,
obviously.
probably one of those two.
I can't remember if it was Lehman when they were talking about the offense, but they brought up how, Javonte, huge mess up. You can't make that kind of mistake, both not catching the ball and then not just, you got to be more aware of the situation, just fall on it, not try to, recover, especially when you got guys in your face. They basically punished him for the rest of the game for one mistake in the first quarter, and then had to rely on a hobbled Tawi Walker. I mean, again, he's definitely the better back right now, but you punish the guy for one mistake in the first quarter. That's probably going to kill confidence in him wanting to getting if he ever got back in the game. Kind of just, again, trust your guys at that point.
I think the unfortunate truth about the situation for running backs and sometimes even receivers is they're held to a higher standard when it comes to turnovers for some reason, because that's not just an Oklahoma thing to do. I feel like in across college football, the NFL, whatever, if a running back fumbles the ball, a lot of times they'll find themselves in the doghouse for a game, or if a receiver fumbles the ball, they'll find themselves in the doghouse for a game. Which is, and again, I think it's weird because if a quarterback throws an interception, they're right back out there, which I don't understand the difference. And it's a turnover either way. But I agree with you. I think that you still have to trust them and put them back out there. But an unfortunate truth for running backs is that that's the way it goes for them.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the last thing I've got, did you guys see the Jason Llewellyn tweet?
I did not. Is it bad? Sounds like it's bad.
Someone was like, "Is there not another tight end we can put out there?" Where's that? I think the person that tweeted it misspelled his name, but he ended up catching it, and he saying, "Is he still on the roster?" Said, "I am," something like that.
No. Mine was. I think it was, or the one I'm talking about anyway is there not anyone better on this roster for a tight end position? And then he just quote tweeted and said, because he didn't even travel with the team.
Yeah. That's probably frustrating for him.
Yeah, it probably is. And it's probably telling, though. I mean, he's probably going to hit the portal. I mean, obviously, you don't travel with the team. You probably shouldn't be tweeting, negative things or controversial. I mean, the damage is already done. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, he deleted everything, but screenshots and
the internet is forever. If you tweet anything, it's forever. Somebody will catch it. Somebody will snapshot it. Whatever snapshot. Someone will screenshot it. It's forever.
Yeah. So that tight end position, they've got no production, and it's unfortunate because I was hoping Stogner was going to be able to contribute more, but it just seems like it just isn't working.
The tight position it hasn't been great this season. I think I agree with Mark here. I think Stog has been big in the run game as far as blocking goes. He's not been as productive as we've seen him before as a receiver at OU. You still don't know what you have out of Caden Helms, which that dude could take the field with Donovan Mitchell, Devon Mitchell, and then who knows if that's going to be just a nasty duo. There's some dudes on that team that we still don't know what we have at tight end.
It's probably frustrating for a guy like Llewellyn though, because he he's been there a couple years now. And last year they brought in a transfer to bolster that room, but then this year they still lean on the transfer portal for tight end help. And I mean, both the starting tight ends are transfers. They're not going to the guys they recruited. And Helms is hurt, but I mean, I think Llewellyn was dealing with an injury in the fall or maybe in the spring. No, at some point he was dealing with an injury. I can see why that's frustrating. I mean, I'm here. Why do you keep bringing in transfer guys and not giving me an opportunity? I would assume is how he feels.
I would think so. I mean, I think the tight end position is less than 150 yards in the year receiving, and that's just not enough for a dynamic offense. But
yeah,
it is what it is. They're getting better with Devon Mitchell.
Oh God, yeah, that kid's starting.
He should start day one. That's the thing, man. It's you go 6-7 now to potentially 10-2, and we could so easily be sitting here right now at 9-0 talking to each other, which is the craziest thing. I still think you can finish 10-2, and then you looking forward, I think it's only going to get better. There are some absolute units that are just waiting in the wings to come out and play for us.
Yep, injuries definitely are helping Oklahoma right now, but everyone's dealing with them. You got to fight through them. And at this point, the last two losses have been OU being OU's worst enemy.
Facts, which sucks. And the referees made sure we're not winning Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely.
At the end of the day, if a call is that blatantly bad and that horribly missed, I didn't think it could get worse than the 2021 Stillwater experience where the same shit happened, where they were like, nope. No pass interference in the end zone, and then somehow it does. And if you watch the clip again, pass interference aside, it almost looked like Drape Stoops caught that ball, and they didn't even give it a consideration to look at it. And
he would have been out of bounds. But yeah, I agree.
It was dangerously close to being a catch, despite the cheating, and they didn't even look at it.
Yeah, I agree. And Nate Roberts is for the 2025 class. So Devon Mitchell will still be more than likely starting ahead of Nate if they were to add him to that 2025 class, who is looking to be very, very good by the time those rankings are completed. But even before then, it's a very good class.
A lot of Oklahoma talent.
Which is pretty cool. But it's really a Carl Albert talent.
Yeah, Carl Albert is just the OU high school edition.
Hopefully those guys win the state championship this year and next year.
I agree.
Can't have that many OU kids and not at least compete for it.
Yeah, Nate Roberts would add to that in-state talent because he's from Washington, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
So,
anything else, boys?
I don't think so.
Oklahoma is going to play in the Big 12 title game. It's going to happen. We're going to speak it into existence. I think if this team goes 3-0, and we don't play in a Big 12 championship game, I'm going to be surprised. And I know we need help. I think it happens. The stars are aligning with Malik Murphy playing quarterback at Texas. He's got all the arm talent in the world. He's just not very smart with the ball. Just at least watching the Kansas State game, he's going to mess it up for them. They'll drop one. And Kansas State is a better football club than Kansas, I think. I think that they will win, and we're going to get the help we need. We have to just take care of the task at hand. And I agree with what Ho said earlier at the top of the show or middle of the show, whatever. This is the one coming up Saturday. Luckily, we're home for it. It's a night game. Should be a good crowd, good environment. OU should win. And I think if you get past this one, knock on wood, you should go 10-2.
Let's just cap off the show here. Looking real quick at what we need for Oklahoma to be in the Big 12 championship. Texas plays TCU, Iowa State, and then Tech. Last three games. Definitely next two are on the road. Going to be tough environments. Those teams are going to bring everything they can against Texas. So they need to lose one. Ideally two, and then Oklahoma wins out, and it's not even then we can just make fun of them and easily be in the Big 12 championship. And then we need Kansas to lose one. Then they have Tech, Kansas State, and Cincinnati. And the Kansas
State has to help us there because if they beat Kansas State, we're not getting in.
Kansas State is at Kansas in Lawrence. But I don't know how far Manhattan is. I can't imagine it's very far.
And it's not like Kansas has a huge home crowd advantage anyway. And let's call it what it is. It's pretty much a high school stadium that they're playing in.
Yep. All right, boys. Good job today. I appreciate everyone for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Check out all the links in the description. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Check out our t-shirts. Help us out. Buy one. When we get to 100 sales, our t-shirt guy, Sammy, is going to donate a Brent Venables signed football to give away to one of you guys watching. So quicker we get there, quicker we can do that giveaway. Again, thank you guys. We'll see you next time.
Good night, nerds.
See you.